That's tough. You know what? That was again.
Oh, there we go.
Huh.
Well,
I don't know.
We'll
I know Arnie wanted to say something.
We'll get to that later on. Hi, everyone. Right. What a way to close out 2025. I'm Sara Lasky. He's Jamie Thomas. Thanks so much for joining us for check-in. The Winnipeg Jets closing out the year tonight in Detroit. It is the start of a 3-game road trip that will see them go through the Atlantic Division with stops tomorrow in Toronto and then closing out in Ottawa on the weekend. But obviously, before we get going on the game tonight, the big news of today is the Team Canada Olympic men's roster announcement. We're looking forward to having Pierre LeBrun from The Athletic and TSN join us momentarily to discuss the announcement today. Let's take a look at the team.
Yeah.
Here is the players that were named. When you look at it, one Winnipeg Jet player, defenseman Josh Morrissey, no surprise there. I think that one was an absolute lock that he was going to be on it. If you were talking from a Winnipeg Jets perspective, and I've seen a number of people already in the chat talking about this.
I got a lot of text messages from friends as well.
Yeah, number 55, Mark Scheifele, not named to this original roster.
Right. I mean, there's a million places you could go with this one. And and I can understand people being upset about it. And I've been saying since, when this whole conversation started, at the beginning of the hockey season, October, it just seemed like Mark Scheifele was a lock. He was like on everybody's list. And then November goes through, and then they get to the beginning part of December, and you're starting to see different names. Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard. That part, when that started happening, then I'm like, well, maybe not. But I was just trying to figure out how you could play your way. If you were a lock in October, have you played your way? He hasn't played his way off, because we've talked about it a million times in the show. What is the sole reason why this team is even in games half the time right now? Is the top line. Yeah.
Yep.
He's been driving this team offensively for months while they struggle.
But I think then that the question is then he was a lock from the outside in terms of his production.
Yes.
Perhaps was not the lock that people presumed from internally with that Team Canada management.
So you could, this is where you go. Okay, so you look at Bo Horvat, center for the New York Islanders, having a great year. So Bo Horvat is a great face-off guy. He's a tremendous penalty killer. So did Hockey Canada see Mark Scheifele as in that role as a penalty killer? Because if you're looking at your top 6, he's not going to fit in there. Some have even said he's a 13th or 14th forward. That's the point where maybe they're like, I don't know if he can play that bottom 6 role. And I'm just throwing it out there. And maybe we'll get a little bit more from Pierre LeBrun here momentarily when he joins us. But that's possibly one of the reasons why he was left off the list. But he's got to be on the short list as well. There's a lot of time left. There's 5 weeks until the Olympics begin. There could be an injury, so you never know if he's going to play his way on that way.
Yeah, maybe let's just put the roster back up again as we go through this. And you may have been watching a TSN and potentially Sportsnet as well. I mean, carrying the announcement live. And so listening to the commentators afterwards, TSN had their panel out with from World Juniors because the announcement was being made in Minnesota. And so James Duffy and company were out there, and they were talking about, Craig Button said afterwards, it was an omission on Scheifele's part, but maybe not glaring. He's very versatile. He's been outstanding. There's nothing else that he could have done, but an emphasis that I thought that both Doug Armstrong made and then some commentators as well was that this is about building a team. This is not about taking your 14 best forwards. That's not what they're doing. They are trying to find roles for everybody. I also thought that it was interesting because when you look at this, there were 5 players. We knew Four Nations teams players would have that inside track. There are 5 players that played for Canada, Four Nations, that did not get a name to this roster: Sam Bennett, Travis Konechny, Seth Jarvis, Aiden Hill, and Samuel Montembeault. So, I mean, there are changes that were made for it. I think it's interesting, and looking forward to hearing from Pierre about the style of play that we're expecting to see with the names that were put to this roster.
It's funny that you mentioned Pierre LeBrun because he's here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's bring him in.
Yeah, for sure. Pierre, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
I have never been better. Happy New Year to both of you.
You don't have to write about what the Olympic roster could be now. So now that that's out of the way, what are your initial thoughts on what the roster was named today by Hockey Canada?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise is no Sam Bennett. Of course, like everyone else who has a Canadian passport, I immediately looked at who didn't make it before I look at who made it. But, I think Sam Bennett, and I know this for a fact, was the most difficult omission for Team Canada. two-time Cup champion, won the Conn Smythe last spring. And it's just such a difficult thing. I had a chance to chat with Doug Armstrong, the GM of Team Canada, right after everything was announced, and he was done his media duties in Minneapolis. And, he said just how difficult that was. And I believe Doug Armstrong himself phoned Sam Bennett to let him know. And my sense of that is that it came down to this. For the longest time, I believe the internal debate with Team Canada was whether to take Bo Horvat or Nick Suzuki. And at some point in the last couple of weeks, someone said, why don't we take them both?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're taking them both, then someone else that was on the Four Nations roster has to be squeezed out, and ended up being Sam Bennett. And that's after the fact that Seth Jarvis and Travis Konechny were already replaced by the likes of Tom Wilson and Macklin Celebrini. And then it was, Horvat or Suzuki, and they ended up taking them both. And I think there's a couple of things in that. One is that by having Tom Wilson on with his physical, intimidating presence, a great penalty killer, a lot of the debate within Team Canada was, do we need both Sam Bennett and Tom Wilson? And listen, there's an argument to be said, yes, it's a small ice in Milan. He should have taken both, but that was part of the debate. And at the end of the day, and if I was going to share, and you can read my interview with Doug Armstrong in The Athletic today, a real takeaway for me is that Doug Armstrong said he spent the last several days agonizing over the last final decisions with head coach John Cooper. And John Cooper has a huge say in who made this team. It's really a Cooper-Armstrong duo at the end here. And what Armstrong shared with me was that flexibility within the lineup became the paramount conversation at the very end with John Cooper. As in, we know Canada can replace injured players between now and before getting on the plane to Milan. But what happens if an injury occurs in the tournament once the tournament begins? And what they really focused on, Cooper and Armstrong, is we need players that can play up and down the lineup and play in different roles if suddenly their role has to change midstream. And I think that really benefited Nick Suzuki and Bo Horvat, especially, who can play center, can play wing, kill penalties, be on the power play, be in a top six role and a bottom six role. That flexibility of their game, I think, really helped those guys make the team for sure.
Yeah, there's always going to be so much debate when you have the talent that Canada has as to who makes the team, who doesn't. Obviously, within this market, everyone expected Josh Morrissey to make it. A lot of people expected Mark Scheifele to make it too, not on the roster. Do you expect him to be considered, or one of the top considerations, if an injury were to happen?
Yes. I believe Mark Scheifele will be on their reserve list. Doug Armstrong would not share, obviously, the names of his reserve list with me, but what he did explain was that they have put together a reserve list of names, and they're going to reach out to those players over the coming days to make sure they're comfortable with being on the reserve list, because it means that you're still on the IOC list and drug testing and all this other stuff. But I think Mark Scheifele will be one of those players. And one of the things that Armstrong stressed is that it's not necessarily a single player that's next man up if there's an injury. It depends who gets hurt between now and the Olympics. So if it's a real offensive top six guy that gets hurt, I believe that helps a guy like Mark Scheifele or a guy like Connor Bedard. If it's more of a bottom six role type player, maybe Sam Bennett gets back on if there's an injury down there. So I really think that who gets hurt will influence who gets the call. But to answer your question, I think Mark Scheifele was in the conversation to the very end up front, with Sam Bennett, with Connor Bedard, and we'll be on that reserve list. Yes.
So you look at this team heading into Four Nations, Pierre, and everyone's looking at Canada, and they're like, hey, they're Achilles' heels in goal. And then Jordan Binnington said, hold on a second. That is not the case. How are you looking at the goaltending heading into the Olympics with the three that were named today?
Well, I think despite that championship game performance, there's no way you can't look at their goaltending and still not feel that is still their Achilles heel potentially. Okay. They just don't have a Carey Price or a Patrick Waugh or a Martin Brodeur or Roberto Luongo anymore. And it's a conversation for another day. But, I remember was it 1998? I think there was something called a Molson Open Ice Summit in Toronto where all of Canada's smartest hockey people got together and said, why can't we score goals anymore? And honestly, some of the changes that derive from that summit helped produce the next few generations of very talented players that we have today offensively. Well, do we need a summit about goaltending? Because, and this is not listen, Logan Thompson's having a fantastic couple of years here, and I'm really happy that he made it on, and Darcy Kemper's been steady, and Jordan Binnington seems to show up when it matters, although he's really struggled this year. There just isn't that guy. So, I think the comfort with Binnington is obvious. Doug Armstrong as GM, but one thing Doug Armstrong said to me today, this wasn't, he needed everyone else in the management group and the coaching staff to feel the same way. And he said it was interesting. Not a single coach or management person in their Team Canada group even talked about Jordan Binnington's numbers this year. It's a body of work with him, with the Stanley Cup and the Four Nations Championship. But no one's guaranteed to be the starter right now. They're going to write that out. And John Cooper will decide at the last moment who his starter is in Milan. I think Mackenzie Blackwood is next man up if there's an injury in goal. He was clearly the fourth guy on that list, in my opinion. But it could be an issue for Canada. I mean, the U.S. has better goaltending. Sweden has better goaltending. Finland has better goaltending. And to suggest otherwise is just not honest.
Well, I know that now that the roster's been named, instead of doing your hypothetical who could be on this roster, it's going to turn into what the lines are going to look like in your D pairings. So it'll keep you very busy with lots to write about over the next couple of months. I know you mentioned Sam Bennett not being on was obviously a surprise for a lot. Were there any other omissions to you, or maybe more even additions that you were a little bit surprised about?
Not additions. Everyone who ended up on the team were guys that we had speculated the last couple months. By the way, what am I going to do next year with no Olympic speculation?
Right.
A lot of insider trading.
World Cup.
That's right. It's never, Pierre, it's never too early to start discussing the next Olympics.
Yeah. Or the World Cup in 2 years, Sarah.
100%.
Yeah. No, I no surprises that made it on. I would say, aside from Sam Bennett, I think, listen, if Canada ends up struggling offensively in Milan, they will hear about it for not taking Connor Bedard and maybe Scheifele. I think on defense, there's no question Matthew Schaefer made them think long and hard. And he was in that final conversation along with the likes of Jacob Chikrin and Evan Bouchard. But, Pete DeBoer coaches the D for the Olympic team as he did at Four Nations. And I think he just felt really comfortable when asked by management about the 8 guys that he had, at Four Nations. I think of the 8 returning defensemen, Thomas Harley was probably the most vulnerable to be replaced. He's had an up and down season for Dallas, but again, I think they love the way he showed up at Four Nations midway through and looked so comfortable. So, no, I think that's probably where it is. And honestly, I should share this, given our audience. One of the reasons they had talked about Evan Bouchard at length is that what happens if something happens to Cale Makar, which, by the way, happened at Four Nations. He was sick in the game. And in terms of the power play. And a lot of people within Team Canada wondered, well, do we need to take Evan Bouchard as the 8th defenseman literally just for that? In case we need a new power play quarterback midstream. And honestly, where Team Canada fell on it, I believe, is that Josh Morrissey can handle the number 1 power play if Cale Makar, for whatever reason, was not available in that, midway through that tournament. So that's where they fell on that in terms of the trust they have in Josh Morrissey.
Well, I'm sure our viewers trust in you, Pierre. Looking forward to seeing what lines are going to be coming up, what the defense pairings are going to be in your lines.
The funny thing about the lines and everything, I try not to get too worked up about it because I remember our first practice for Four Nations. Every single line was different than what we all thought it might be. I mean, they look at things so differently than the rest of us do and the potential combinations. So I think I would just say, and by the way, even within that short tournament, the lines got jumbled up a whole bunch of times.
Right.
So I would say keep an open mind on that.
I think that complaining is going to stop about the compressed schedule in February when the Olympics start, because it's going to be tremendous hockey, don't you think?
It's listen, I've had a chance to cover the NHL, the Olympics dating back to Salt Lake City in 2002, and every tournament has been unbelievably, highlights of my career. Just amazing to watch that level of play at best on best and how much it matters to the players. And not just when Canada has won like they did in Salt Lake and Vancouver and Sochi, but remembering the emotion on the Swedish players and winning in Torino after losing to Belarus 4 years before that in Salt Lake. Those are some unbelievable moments. There's nothing that matters more to a hockey player. Ever since the NHL ventured into the Olympics in Nagano, it's been priority number one for every superstar alive.
Well, Pierre, we thank you so much. We know that you are enjoying the holiday right now with your family as well. So
looks very sunny in your room there.
Kind of a workation, let's just say.
I love it. And as you mentioned, I mean, your column with Doug Armstrong in reaction to today's announcement will be out later today in The Athletic. People can follow along there for not only today, but of course going forward. And we will see you soon on TSN as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Sara and Jamie. All the best.
Happy New Year. Pierre LeBrun.
Pierre LeBrun. Worked with him since my days at the Score, actually. We did the 2007 Stanley Cup final together, Ottawa and Anaheim.
Man, I've done a lot of events work with not working with Pierre, but around Pierre. And man, I've learned so many things. You just follow him around, you watch how he works, read his work, see him on TV.
You learn a lot about wine when you're around him too.
I heard that.
Yes.
I've heard that.
He is a good resource for it. Thanks so much to Pierre LeBrun for joining us. There will be so much to read tonight, whether it be from Pierre, Chris Johnston with The Athletic, as well as something up right now on the announcement. Okay, so before we quickly switch over to the game at hand today, with the Jets being in Detroit to close out this 2025 year, thoughts on the roster?
I don't. So you're going to be people will be upset about Mark Scheifele not being on it, but you look at each person that's on the team, I'm like, how does this fit? That's still to me the best roster in this tournament.
Yeah,
like, I know Canada. Yes, they do have a weakness in goal, and as compared to other countries, but until you have Macklin Celebrini, you have Connor McDavid, you have Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Josh Morrissey. I'm sorry. Until someone says proves otherwise, I still think this is the gold medal favorite going in. So yes, there's upset, and I'm sad for Mark Scheifele. For sure. I've been around him for a long time. Yeah. I know what this means to him and would have meant to him to be there. And but I'm also really happy for Josh Morrissey because he gets another chance. Yes, he won at Four Nation Face-Off, but he was sick for the championship game.
Yeah,
so here's another opportunity for him to win a championship for his country. So as sad as you are for Mark Scheifele, you're really excited for Josh Morrissey.
Absolutely. Doug Armstrong saying that the players got called around 8 local today.
Yeah.
The players that were from the Four Nations team that did not make it got phone calls last night, really trying to balance this roster out. Team USA is going to be, now we believe that the players are getting called today.
They'll know today.
But the official announcement will come out on Friday on the Today Show because the Olympics
That's pretty cool.
The Olympics air on NBC. So it'll be on the Today Show. We are expecting to see 2 players from the Jets named to that roster, and Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck. But let's take a look. And so we know for sure 2 Olympians. Nino Ryder's already been named to the Swiss team. And then Josh Morrissey, if you take a look, this graphic here, 2 World Juniors. He's played in World Championships twice, Team North America. That was the Scheif's World Cup. But he's had this success. And look at this, Olympic bound. And tonight he's playing in his 700th game. As well, which is what a big day for him, or a significant day for him.
Yeah.
And a ton of accomplishments.
Right. So like Adam Lauer just had his 800th game the other night. It almost seems like these guys have all grown up together on this roster. So it's awesome to me that it's 800 for Laos. The other night now, 700 for Josh Morrissey. Morrissey just the second player in franchise history to do this. Toby Enstrom is the other one. And of course, Morrissey closing in on Dustin Byfuglien's franchise record for points by defenseman here real soon. Yeah, selected 13th overall in 2013. So here's numbers. He's been in 1 World Championship, 2017, 4 Nations. Last 2.5 seasons, he's 5th amongst defensemen in points, 6th this season with points as well, 30 years old. So congratulations to him. And we will continue undoubtedly to discuss
not only Team USA roster going forward, but what we think about the Team Canada and the setup to it leading into February.
Should we try Arnie's clip again?
Sure, let's give it a shot as we turn our attention to tonight's game, because yes, there is an NHL game at hand for the Winnipeg Jets.
Start of a 3-game road trip, like you said a little bit earlier, out east.
Yep.
So here is Scott Arniel, God willing, about what the game the other night.
That's tough. You know what? That was that's 6 periods for me that have been how we have. That's tough. You know what? That was again.
Nope.
Zach.
Never mind.
Listen, are they trying to tell us to go move away from that game something?
It must be. Look,
they played so good though.
Yes. So we are going to talk very quickly about that last game, but we do want to know from you. Obviously, the conversation in the chat right now is all about the Olympic team. Also, there was some disappointment that we did not ask Pierre about his favorite type of soup and what sort of soup he would go for today. He's down in Florida, though, so not necessarily soup weather for him. We do want to know, though, we decided to not talk as much about what had happened in 2025, although tremendous accomplishments by this organization in terms of first President's Trophy, Helly with the Heart, third Vezina, the accomplishments of Shifes in terms of becoming franchise all-time games played and points leader. We want to know from you, though, look ahead. What are you hoping to see from the Jets to start 2026?
What would I like to see? Keep playing the way they are right now.
There you go.
That's, I'm thinking small to start.
Yeah, micro. Don't think macro.
I'm not going big picture right now.
Yeah.
You keep playing the way you did the other night, and certainly the previous game against Minnesota, I think you're going to be okay. At some point, as Adam Lowry said the other night, these pucks have to start going in the net. You throw 42 shots at Calvin Pickard. Here's the thing, that it just seems like something's working against them every game. So the game against Minnesota was the officials, arguably. It was, period. Try not to wear the blue sunglasses.
Yeah.
The other night against Edmonton, you completely shut down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. After we talked about the video game numbers that McDavid was putting up, heading, I believe it is a 12-game point streak, he gets a point on an empty net goal.
Yeah.
Nothing. Would they have 2 shots combined, Draisaitl and McDavid?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do you need to do in that one? You throw 42 shots on Calvin Pickard, and you still lose 3-1. Something's off. Like, I'm not saying this is something the hockey universe is against the Winnipeg Jets right now. Yes, Matt, consistency is good. Thank you. That is what you want to see, because there's game 35, I believe, before the Christmas break, that Arnie said consistency, inconsistent through the first 35 games and from certain players.
I feel like that's been the word of this, inconsistent or searching for inconsistent, the word of the start to the season. Searching for consistency would be the phrase.
Another one, yeah. Yeah, so a lot of repetition in terms of the more puck luck. Yes, that's my gosh.
Yes.
So the power play, you're looking, oh, they didn't capitalize on it. I don't know what else they could have done as well on that one. Like, they had some really good looks in the power play. The puck was down in Edmonton's zone for the majority of each of those power plays that they had, especially their first 3 or their 3, and still couldn't get anything past Pickard.
Yeah.
So that was, you run into a hot goaltender. So like I said, something's working against them in a different way in each game right now as they start to round into form.
For it. So they go tonight against Detroit, looking for, like, Adam Lowry with the goal for them in the game against Edmonton.
There's your secondary scoring.
So it was 1 goal.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
It was great to see it from someone that was not on the top line.
Right.
But it was 1 goal. They need to see more. As you mentioned, I mean, Calvin Pickard was certainly the story of that game against Edmonton, but Adam Lowry spoke after that game about still looking for a little bit more offense, but the team and the game trending maybe in the right direction.
Yeah. Here we go.
You know, I think it's in here. I think it's, you know, we look at, you know, the contributions of certain guys in this room and, you know, what they've done in the past. They have long track records of, you know, producing offensively, you know, good secondary rates. You know, I think the chances, the posts, you know, the looks we have, you know, eventually the dam's going to break and you're going to, you know, get them, and then it seems like scoring comes in bunches. So, you know, like I said, we just got to stick with it and keep playing, like, you know, like the effort tonight. You you know, we've squandered a lot of points. We know the predicament we're in, so you know we have to start making up ground. You know, but you know I think we have the confidence that, like I said, we go out there, we put together a body of work like we did tonight. We'll get better results than we did.
Like I said, what he said. Keep playing like that, something's going to happen. So on top of that, so he was the 4th player in franchise history to reach 800 career games with the franchise. Every player previous to him playing in their 800th game got at least 1 point, and then he gets the goal in the 3rd period that brought the building alive.
We should have looked at 700. Find out if Josh was going to get a point.
Yeah,
tonight.
well, when Josh gets a point,
There you
because
go.
he'll be named to the Olympic team, so there's the Olympic bump.
100%. We talk about the baby bump. We talk about
Olympic bump,
all
coaching
sorts of
bump.
stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of bumps.
Let's take a look at what the projected lines are supposed
Right.
to be for tonight. Mitchell Clinton tweeting them out from morning skate today in Detroit. It looks like they will start how they finished.
Yeah, so John Matthews, who looks like he's starting to round into form here,
Mhm.
at least the last couple of games, centering that second line with Alex Iafallo and Cole Perfetti. You leave the 3rd line alone, as we've heard that before do not touch the 3rd line. And then you got the 3 ends on the 3rd line with Niederreiter, Nemestikov, and Nyquist. So there's got to be a Gustav Nyquist goal coming up.
Well, playing against his former team, you never about that. Also interesting to watch tonight. Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane.
First time they played against each other.
Since being teammates forever and winning the 3 cups with Chicago.
They won a little bit.
They've had a little bit of
So
success.
it's kind of bizarre. I know, because it's just Taves has been out of the game for 2 years, but it's just bizarre to me. This is the first time playing against each other. Just, when I read that in the notes, I'm like, wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, with everything. I mean, they were roommates on the road when they first came into the league and grew up together in Chicago and achieved all of that success together. The Detroit looking to make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. They are sitting first on top of the Atlantic Division. That East, as we have discussed so many times, though, so tight. One day you could be sitting in first, the next day you could be in a wild card spot or out. They are 13-7-1 at home. The Jets 7-10-2 on the road. And if you're looking for
That's the Todd McClellan bump.
if you're looking for victories, it is the way that the Jets have played lately that you would say would deserve a better fate than what they have had in terms of the points. But as great as that is, Scott O'Neill stressed after the game, and it's true with all of it. You don't 1 point, great that you got a point. You don't need 1 point. You need 2.
Yeah, you guys, and the puck's got to start going in. Like, people have to start scoring.
And I think that like the stress of it, they just have to start scoring.
It was like so easy last year. Like, it was boring sometimes because all they did was win. And like, I'm not saying that in a bad way. It was just like, what are we going to talk about today? Oh, they won again. This one now, it's like, can someone please score?
Yeah.
Someone else.
I think that what it is with this team, and it's actually interesting when I've been reading some people's articles online when talking about kind of the good, the bad, the surprising when going around the league. And some don't even put the Jets in as bad, despite the fact that right now, I mean, the fact is they're sitting last in the Western Conference in terms of points. They have to be one of the most surprising teams because on paper, yes, you are what your record says you are, but it's the surprising part because on paper, this is not a team that should be anywhere close to where they are, which is why you continue to hold out the hope that things have to turn around. Because this is not a poor roster in terms of it. They do have a lot of talent on it. Just for whatever reason, just has not been able.
Good question.
They haven't been able to get going, whether it be because of injuries or various issues.
Just saw a question. Will Combs get the net tomorrow? Theoretically.
That's what you would think. I mean, on back-to-back, I would be very surprised.
We thought Thomas Millich was going to start in Edmonton after the game against Buffalo.
But it's not. That's
I
not the
understand.
same.
Yes.
And I think when you look at how many games now, Hellebuck he's played every game since
8 in a row
he returned.
Tonight. Yeah.
So at some point you have to put Eric Comrie back in.
Got to
in the net.
Get his confidence going again and get him going. Like Scott O'Neill said consistently, just don't want people sitting around for too long. So that would make sense that he would play tomorrow in Toronto.
Absolutely.
So that's it for us, is it not?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? If
What?
you are looking for something to do before the game tonight,
Okay.
before your New Year's Eve plans, there is, of course, always lots of content to be able to
Runway.
watch. Runway. There's home ice, and there is ground control, an entertaining one, no less.
Yeah, like they don't say it all in here, but Kevin Sawyer told some last time he was on with us here on Check-In, told a great story about fighting Stu Grimson. So I got the idea. Let's sit down. I stole this from another thing on YouTube. I apologize, but I thought it'd be great to eat some chicken wings, hot ones at that, and ask Kevin Sawyer about fighting and what he did in the National Hockey League. Here it is.
Number 4. So this got 5 peppers level to it.
Look at, why did I just rub so?
I don't know why I put so much on either.
Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Kelly Chase, who is such a
Thanks a lot, Carter.
wow.
My nose was running a lot, and it got really uncomfortable. It wasn't the last one that we did. We ate 4 different levels of wings or sauces. Sorry, I was hoping for like really hot, uncomfortable, painful, but it was mildly uncomfortable. It wasn't fun. It was delicious because I've had some hot sauces before that don't taste good, and they tore the inside of my body out. There was a lot of hemorrhaging going on internally. Just I know it's a great thought process, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to suffer for the people for their entertainment, and it was not quite there.
You know what? Since it wasn't the level, maybe we could bring it in, and you could do it here on the show.
On the show,
point. Yeah, why not?
The biggest fear I have is like eating and listening to people chew is always annoying to me.
Yes.
So I was afraid that would come through. The guys, the editor, did a great job.
What if you just licked off the hot sauce?
Or just like took a spoonful.
A spoonful.
See? Spoonful of sugar.
I think I just heard that if the Winnipeg Jets win tonight, that he will eat a spoonful of hot sauce.
Sure. But I can't do it tomorrow because I don't know if there's going to be open that I can find.
Okay.
It. So I'll do it on Saturday.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean,
like the uncomfortable one that I had in Penticton at the rookie tournament, where for half an hour I was dying. So I'm sure you would enjoy it. I'm sure Matt would love it. There's a lot of people out there that like to watch me suffer and humiliate myself. So we'll do that.
We need a lot of people in the chat that day because they think I'd have to be carrying the show.
There's 1,500 right now. So this would have been the show to do it.
It's true.
Congratulations to Josh Morris.
100%. Yeah. Great for Josh. And for the Jets tonight, closing out 2025, it would be obviously great for them to finally be rewarded with a win.
Yeah.
For it to close out 2025. And then tomorrow they will start 2026 in Toronto. So you and I will be back tomorrow morning.
Already.
Or tomorrow afternoon, 12:30.
You guys were awesome for all of 2025.
Absolutely.
I expect you to be even better in 2026. Not a lot of pressure being put on you. Thank you so much for watching us all this year.
Thanks for joining the chat as well. Enjoy the game tonight against Detroit. Enjoy your New Year's Eve, whatever it might tell. Be safe out there and make sure to join us tomorrow as we get you set for, we talk about tonight's game, but we get you set for the Jets and Leafs all Canadian matchup. You know, it is always a good time when those two teams play each other. Lots of storylines. Cole Perfetti's birthday tomorrow as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe he if he doesn't get it going tonight, maybe he will tomorrow.
He'll have a continuation because remember, a lot his billets are around that area and they come to visit him in Detroit all the time. So he'll get the bump there and the bump tomorrow on his birthday.
Lots of bumps. All right.
Okay. See ya.
Enjoy, everybody. Thanks so much for checking in.